So, again, I'm Dr. Julia Lee. A little bit about me. I was born in Los Angeles. Sorry, the sun is coming through this window in an odd way. Oof. Anyway, I was born in Los Angeles. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. My parents were Korean immigrants who moved to Los Angeles in the early 1970s. I was born not too far away from LMU, actually, and have lived here or I've taught at LMU since 2017, and my entire family is still here. So, very familiar with this school and with the neighborhood. In graduate school, I studied Victorian Lit and I also studied African American Lit. And these are the subjects. Sorry, again, changing better. Um, at LMU, I teach courses in Asian American Lit, African American Lit, and I still teach some Victorian and 19th century British and American Lit as well. And yeah, what else about me? I have two kids and yeah, I've been graduate director for the past 2.5 years. Okay, so I always start with the division statement for the English department. We are a community of creative writers, journalists, and literary scholars who are committed to the fundamental dignity, equality, and welfare of all human beings. I like this image. It's from Glenn Ligon, who's one of my favorite artists, and I like to add artwork to all my slides. This vision statement was created a few years ago. The English department is very much influenced by the mission of Loyola Marymount. So, the cultivation of the whole person, the commitment to social justice. We care very much about meeting students where they are. You are not just a number at LMU and in the English department. We have a small program, but it's also very intimate. You will know all your professors. You will get to know your classmates very, very well. And we are committed to having people be full human beings within our program. And this is fundamental to who we are. So a little bit about why LMU. I mentioned that we are a small program. Class sizes, each cohort ranges in size between, I would say, maybe 8 to 15 people. So you will absolutely become close with your colleagues and with your professors. We have a cohort of very committed professors who really care about not just teaching, but also mentoring, helping with decisions following graduation, helping with jobs, writing letters of recommendation, and just being a all-around source of support. Additionally, we also have conference funding. This is for travel. I had a bunch of students this past year, maybe about 6 or 7 students who attended a conference in Santa Fe, New Mexico with me, and their travel funds or their travel expenses were covered up to $500 by the department. We also have travel funding for international conferences where it is capped at $1,000. So this allows students to be able to attend without too much financial burden. In addition, we have teaching fellowship and graduate assistantships. The teaching fellowships are competitive, but allow you to have your tuition covered, and then you also get experience teaching within the rhetorical arts program, and then eventually teaching your own rhetorical arts section. So you start off as a writing assistant your first year, which is a little bit of an apprenticeship program. And then in your second year, you get to take your own class, teach your own classes, which is wonderful experience for if you are interested in a teaching career following graduation. We have several GA opportunities, graduate assistantships. These are sometimes graduate assistantships for other programs, like journalism often hires a graduate assistant, sometimes the dean's office. We also have a special collections and archives fellowship, graduate assistantship, where you can learn how to work with materials, with oftentimes like rare books, manuscripts, things like that, and you can help organize a show, like a sort of exhibit for the library. I know a lot of students who have really enjoyed their experience there. These two are competitive, but you just designate that you're interested in them and then go through an interview process in order to get these jobs. And then finally, we are very different from other programs in that we are committed to our mission and to a sense of community. This is not like a large state school or a school without a central kind of vision statement or mission. I think the Jesuit and Marymount commitments to social justice undergird everything that we do and teach. I have a picture here of a recent cohort of graduating MA students. This is, I guess, both students, and then there are some faculty members interspersed there. So I'm in the middle, but Dr. Hannah Sawyer is at the, I guess, she's on the far left on my screen, but she's wearing the blue dress. And then Amy Ross Kilroy, who is actually in charge of the TFs, teaching fellows, she's on the other end in the printed skirt. Okay, admissions requirements. The prereqs in order to apply for the program and to be considered, we recommend a minimum of 5 upper division undergraduate English courses with a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. And then undergraduate and other prior experience in your desired track of study. And so it is, I mean, if you're interested in applying for the creative writing track, for example, in our program, we would like to see that you have taken creative writing classes, that you are engaged in the craft already, and that, you know, you are committed and you know what you're getting into. We have 3 tracks currently: literature, rhetoric and composition, and creative writing. And generally, students seem to be split. I would say that half of students tend to be creative writing candidates, and then the rest are broken up between literature and rhetoric and composition. In addition to the prereqs for your application, we ask for a 10 to 15 page writing sample. This is a critical writing sample. So we want to be able to see that you are able to close read literature, that you can incorporate outside research, that you're able to write, academic in an academic at a high academic level, and that you're able to hit the ground running in terms of graduate studies. Creative writing students, in addition to the critical writing sample, are asked to submit an additional sample of their creative writing in whatever genre that they're applying. So if you're a poet, enclose a portfolio of poetry. If you're a fiction writer, enclose maybe a short story or some sample of your work, not exceeding 30 pages. And our creative writing faculty will evaluate that as well. In addition, you are requested to provide 2 letters of recommendation. These should ideally be from professors that you have taken classes with and done well in, and who can speak to your ability to succeed in a graduate English program. Sometimes we receive letters from employers and things like that. We are less interested in those. We really want a focused recommendation from somebody who knows how you write, how committed you are as a student, your preparation for a graduate program, preferably somebody who knows your writing well. You also are requested to include a personal statement. This is where you talk about why LMU, why you think we're a good fit for you, what you hope to get from the program. Sometimes people include the faculty members that they would like to work with, anything so that we know that you've done your research and that you're prepared and you know what you are getting into, and that you've done research and know that you're a good fit for a program. And then finally, we ask for transcripts. Sometimes you can upload a non-official version to start off with, but eventually we do ask for official versions of your transcripts in order to admit you into the program. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the various tracks in the English department. The first track I wanted to talk about is the literature emphasis. This is probably, I don't know, it's maybe I would say 30% to 40% of people who apply to the program apply within the literature emphasis. And what you will see underneath are all the requirements for the literature emphasis. They include a course called Critical Methodology. This is a required course for every incoming English MA student, and it's an introduction to graduate studies. You learn how to professionalize, you learn how to write at the appropriate level, you learn how to incorporate and to read literary theory, research. We often take students to the library in order to do some research within special collections and archives. So this is a required class of all incoming first year students. In addition, we currently have a contemporary critical theory requirement. This is also required of all students, but more flexibility in terms of when you can take it. Many students take it their second semester of graduate studies. Others wait until their second year. So maybe their final semester of graduate studies, they may take contemporary critical theory. There's a major writer slash genre slash literary period requirement that you need to take at some point in your 2 years in the program. And then you have some flexibility in terms of the number of literature and theory electives you would like to take. And you also have the option of taking a creative writing seminar. So if you're a literature person, but you want to experiment, see if you want to try some poetry or some fiction writing, you absolutely have an opportunity to do that even within the literature emphasis. The rhetoric and composition emphasis is our second track. This tends to be a smaller track, but we do have students who switch to this track after they arrive at LMU, and that is also totally fine. You may start off on one track, come to LMU and decide, you know what, I've really fallen in love with rhetoric and composition. I would like to move to that track. And usually, if you make that switch early enough, it's totally fine. You just need to follow a slightly different set of requirements to graduate. So similar to literature, you have to take critical methodology, you have to take contemporary critical theory, a major writer class, and then here you are required to take 3 lit and theory electives, and then in keeping with the rhetoric and composition emphasis, we ask that you take 3 rhetoric and composition theory and practice courses, and then finally 1 linguistics and reading theory course. All of these tracks total 10 credits or 10 courses. You have to take 10 courses total, and it culminates to like 30 credits. I believe that's correct. Yeah. Okay, and then the creative writing emphasis, critical methodologies, contemporary critical theory, major writers, all the same requirements. And then here, the emphasis is more on creative writing. So you are required to take 4 creative writing seminars, and then the remaining 3 are literary and theory or literature and theory electives. So just slightly different proportion of classes. These are some pictures from, I guess, a couple of years ago of our graduating class. Actually, before I forget, the 3 tracks, I didn't include this, but in addition to those 3 tracks, the last and final requirement is that you are expected to submit a capstone portfolio. So a capstone portfolio is basically the best work that you can produce. It's a longer piece, usually like a thesis of sometimes 25 to 30 pages. And then if you're a creative writer, maybe it's a collection of short stories, maybe it is a collection of poetry. And then there are a few other things that are included in this portfolio. If you're a teaching fellow, you are asked to include a teaching statement. Everybody is requested to include a CV. And there are other items that we can talk about, but that you complete your final semester of your second year. And that is the last requirement before you earn your MA. So here on one side, the group of 4 people, this is our recent student, Eric, who received his MA in 2023. He was a creative writer and he won the top creative writing prize for the graduate program. And so here he is with some of his coworkers. He also works at Loyola Marymount. And so we were very, very proud of him. He wrote a collection of really wonderful poems. So he's our top creative writing graduate. And then Leah, who is on the right on my side of the screen, she's posing with me and with one of my colleagues, Dr. Dermot Ryan, who's an 18th century scholar. Leah was one of the top. She was a co-winner of the top critical writing capstone prize. So she focused on literature, and her final capstone was on Asian American literature, and she now teaches high school and is doing really, really well. So I wanted to share those pictures. These are from graduation, which is a beautiful event at LMU. Okay, so some more details. Just you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the links included here. And then I have a link for the LMU graduate program in English where you can find a lot of the same information that I have included in this slideshow. And then there's a link to the LMU graduate admissions page. Um, I can share this with you guys later if you aren't able to catch it right now, or maybe you can take a photograph of these links. But these are very helpful for any other small questions that you have. Before I close out, I wanted to encourage you to join the student resource sessions, which are going to be later this evening from 6 to 6:30. There's a financial aid session, 6 to 6:30 as well. There's international admissions for any international candidates. And then from 6:30 to 7, there is a career and professional development session. So I encourage you to attend those if you have time or you have the interest. And then I'm leaving you with some helpful contact information. The first person, Maria Jackson, she is our senior administrative coordinator, and I've included her email address. Maria has been with the English department for decades. She's been at LMU for decades and is really, really knowledgeable about the institution and about the department. So if you have any questions, she's very responsive, very, very nice, a real resource for grad students. So feel free to email her anytime. She often knows more information or more details than professors because she's been around longer. So I encourage you to reach out to her. Trinity Catlin is my graduate assistant, and she is a current second year. So she's graduating at the end of this year, but she specializes in poetry. She's also a fantastic resource. She was a transfer student to LMU in undergrad. She had gone to Seattle University, then transferred to LMU her junior year. Graduated a few years ago and then entered the English MA program. And I'm very, very proud of her because she was recently accepted to the MFA program at New York University, which is one of the top programs in the country. And so she's a superstar. And, she's also already published a chapbook of poetry. So she's really one of our creative writing success stories. Amy Ross Kilroy is the TF coordinator. She will be working closely with you if you decide to apply to the teaching fellowship program and receive one of the fellowships. She has also been around for a very long time and has a lot of institutional knowledge. She teaches a required teaching theory of teaching course that all TFs are required to take. Also a great resource if you have questions about the fellowship. She can answer those. KJ Peters is the chair of our department and a former graduate director, so also familiar with the graduate program specifically and also great resource. And then finally, I have my information at the very bottom. I'm the graduate director, and please feel free to email me if you have any questions. If you would like to visit LMU. I know sometimes people like to check out the campus, sit in on a graduate seminar, get a feel for things. Email me, or you can also email Trinity. Trinity is happy to answer questions and also take you on a tour. She has done that several times in the past for prospective students. So I'm going to end it there and stop sharing and take any questions that you guys might have. I think I'm back. So I know there are only a couple people in this open house, but if you have any questions, either raise your hand or you can pop it into the chat if that's easier for you. Um, I'll give you a few minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So my name is Ava Lehrman, and I just applied for the program.
Oh, right.
Um,
I was just I was just talking. That's so funny. I just saw your file and was like, it's you're missing a recommendation. That's all.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, and so in light of that, I guess you probably this is probably the question that everybody asks, but do you know when we would be hearing back from you guys?
Yeah, the priority deadline this year was February 14th, and we just released decisions. We were not able to release your decision because we wait for the file to be complete before we
Right.
evaluate it. And since your file is incomplete, we're just waiting on that. Once
Okay.
once the file is complete, we'll try to look at it as quickly as possible, and get back to you. I mean, I can it depends on how quickly my colleagues can read the file and evaluate it.
Hmm.
But I would hope we could get back to you within 2 to 3 weeks. It depends on, again, a lot of
Hmm.
it is just logistics and bureaucracy to move it through. But yeah, the
Yeah.
sooner you get it in, the better. We do have rolling admission, so just because you missed February 14th is not a big deal. Just get it in as soon as possible.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I can barely hear you. I can hear you very faintly. Uh, I still can barely hear you. Maybe can you put your question into the chat and then I can answer it. Much, Verona, are you oh yes, here it is. Can you please tell me about the deadline of September 2025 intake? That's a good question. We do not yet have an official deadline, but likely it's usually like mid-February sometime, is when the priority deadline generally falls. Again, we don't have an exact date just yet because we just haven't looked that far ahead, but mid-February is a good benchmark. And again, that's the priority deadline, which means that, we will absolutely be starting to evaluate applications by then, and that we try to get back to students quickly, and also in terms of like offering graduate assistantships or teaching fellowships. It's always better to apply earlier in order to be um, eligible for all of those before they are, already distributed and things like that. But it is rolling admission, so you know, just get your application in as quickly as possible. Okay, great. Well, thank you guys. And if you have any further questions, feel free to email me. It's just julia.lee, Lee, at lmu.edu. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thank you.